They wanted doe eyes. They desired a gaze so deep and dark, it could swallow a lover whole. So, the women of Renaissance Venice did the unthinkable. They squeezed drops of deadly poison directly into their eyeballs, accepting blindness as the price of beauty. This was not a misunderstood herbal remedy. It was a calculated gamble with mortality. The plant was Atropa belladonna, a toxic shadow lurking in the gardens of Europe, and for centuries it served as the cosmetic industry's most lethal secret. Welcome to Strange Object History, where we investigate the strange and sometimes terrifying origins of everyday objects. Subscribe and click the bell so you never miss a discovery. To understand this madness, we must transport ourselves to 16th century Italy. In this era, the eyes were considered the windows to the soul, and a dilated pupil was the ultimate signal of arousal and allure. Physiologically, our pupils widen when we look at something or someone we desire. By chemically forcing this reaction, Venetian ladies could fake a look of constant, intense seduction. They called the plant belladonna, or beautiful lady, a name that masks the botanical violence occurring beneath the surface. The agent of this transformation is the deadly nightshade, a member of the Solanaceae family. It shares a lineage with potatoes and tomatoes, yet it produces a cocktail of tropane alkaloids, scopolamine, hyoscyamine, and the star of our show, atropine. Atropine acts as an anticholinergic. It blocks the neurotransmitters that tell the muscle in your iris to constrict, essentially paralyzing the eye in an open position. It lets the light flood in, but it also invites the darkness. Application was a delicate, dangerous ritual. A lady would crush the berries, or distill an extract, tilting her head back to let the murky fluid slide across her cornea. The effect was almost immediate. The pupil would blow open, obscuring the natural eye color with a pool of black ink. It created a soft, dreamy focus. Literally, because the ciliary muscle was also paralyzed, the woman lost the ability to focus on anything close up. Her world became a beautiful blur, softening the edges of reality. This induced far-sightedness meant that while she looked enchanting to others, she could barely see the suitor she was seducing. She had to rely on others to guide her through the palazzo, adding an air of helplessness that was fashionable at the time. But the paralysis of the eye muscles was merely the beginning. The eyes are highly absorbent, and the atropine did not stay local. It seeped into the bloodstream, beginning a systemic assault on the nervous system. Heart palpitations soon followed. Atropine increases the heart rate, sometimes inducing a frantic thumping in the chest that women might have mistaken for the flutter of romantic love. In reality, their autonomic nervous system was misfiring. Their mouths would go dry, a condition known as xerostomia, making conversation difficult. Imagine trying to engage in witty banter at a ball while your heart races at 120 beats per minute and your tongue feels akin to sandpaper. The risks escalated with chronic use. Daily application led to a cumulative toxicity. Users began to experience photophobia, extreme sensitivity to light. Without the ability to constrict, the pupil could not protect the retina from the bright Italian sun. Women were forced to stay indoors or wear heavy veils, becoming creatures of the night, not by choice, but by necessity. The sun became a physical enemy, searing their unprotected retinas. Then came the hallucinations. Belladonna is a deliriant. As the toxins built up, the beautiful ladies began to see things that were not there, floating objects, phantom people, or terrifying beasts in the corners of the room. It is ironic that the plant used to attract a lover often made the user seem mad. They might converse with empty chairs, or recoil from invisible fires. This psychoactive property is why the plant was also a primary ingredient in flying ointments used by alleged witches. The connection to witchcraft is potent. While the noble women used it for vanity, the peasantry knew belladonna as the sorcerer's berry. The active alkaloids can induce a sensation of flying or floating. So, while high society ladies sat in their parlours with dilated pupils, they were essentially tripping on a potent hallucinogen, navigating a high-stakes social environment while their grip on reality slowly dissolved into a chemical haze. However, the most devastating price was paid by the eyes themselves. Prolonged use of belladonna drops caused a condition similar to glaucoma. The fluid pressure inside the eye would build up because the drainage channels were blocked by the dilated iris. Slowly, the optic nerve would be compressed. The vision did not just blur, it began to vanish. Peripheral vision failed first, creating a tunnel effect, until eventually the center went black. Blindness was often permanent. We have records of women who sacrificed their sight entirely before the age of 30. Yet, the trend persisted. The societal pressure to appear youthful and aroused outweighed the terror of darkness. It speaks volumes about the commodification of women in this era, that a woman who looked beautiful but could not see was preferred over a woman who could see but looked ordinary. Accidental overdose was another constant threat. The margin between a cosmetic dose and a lethal dose is terrifyingly thin. Ingesting just a few berries can kill an adult. If the liquid flowed down the tear ducts and into the nose or throat, absorption increased. Symptoms of overdose included convulsions, severe confusion, and respiratory failure. A vanity table could quickly turn into a deathbed. Despite these horrors, the practice continued well into the 19th century in various forms. It wasn't until the rise of modern ophthalmology that the casual cosmetic use of atropine was halted. Doctors realized the catastrophic damage being done. Today we still use atropine, but only in a controlled medical setting to dilate pupils for eye exams. The stinging drop you receive at the optometrist is a diluted ghost of the poison that once blinded a generation of women. There is a lingering irony in the plant's taxonomy. The genus name Atropa comes from Atropos, one of the three fates in Greek mythology. Atropos was the sister responsible for cutting the thread of life. It is a fitting namesake for a plant that severed the connection between sight and the world. The women who used it were literally courting fate, dancing on a razor's edge between allure and annihilation. The story of Belladonna drops is a grim chapter in the history of cosmetics. It forces us to ask, how much pain is acceptable for the sake of appearance? We might look back at these women with pity or judgment, yet we must consider our own modern rituals. From injectables to surgeries, the pursuit of an idealized self often comes with a physical cost. The tools change, but the dangerous desire remains the same. In the end, the beautiful lady took more than she gave. She offered a fleeting glimmer of seduction in exchange for the permanent light of the world. Those wide, dark pools of attraction were actually wells of toxicity. It remains one of history's most vivid examples of how the definition of beauty can become a biological weapon turned against oneself. We often say that beauty is pain, but for the women of Venice, beauty was darkness. I want to know your thoughts on this trade-off. Is there any modern beauty standard you think historians will look back on with the same horror we feel for the Belladonna drops? Leave your answer in the comments below. Now that you know the real story, you'll never look at this the same way again. But there is always more to discover. Subscribe and ring the bell to keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.